Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wondergoal, the soccer betting podcast from the Action Network. My name is Michael Lieboff. Joining me will be my friends and co-hosts, Anthony DeBundo and BJ Cunningham. But before I bring in those two handsome lads, a reminder that Wondergoal is proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer. Bet $1 on any game and get $200 in bonus bets. You must be 21 or older. The offer is available in Colorado, New Jersey, Ohio, and Virginia, United States. And if you think you have a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Anthony and BJ, we are getting down to the nitty-gritty. The penultimate weekend of
Thank
Premier
goodness.
League. What'd you say?
I said, thank goodness.
Thank goodness is right. Yeah, we're there. But there's still a lot to settle, most notably at the bottom of the table. But we'll start at the top, and we'll start with Man City with a chance to clinch their third straight title. What is it, 5 and 6 years for them? And they're minus 400 at home to Chelsea. Frank Lampard's Chelsea. Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea. Whose Chelsea is it these days? I don't know. The draw is plus 550 here on the three-way line. Thanks to Bet365 for these odds and all the odds we'll reference tonight. This has been an exercise I've kind of brought up a couple times as we've gone down the stretch, just to kind of illustrate how it's so hard to really you have like a really clean grasp of how a season's going to unfold. And if I showed you City minus 400 at home to Chelsea in the second to last weekend of the season, what would you have thought if I showed you this on August 1st? Is Chelsea just resting everybody? Did they have a game like the next day? What was going on? And it's been weirder than that, honestly. But I mean, you can't. I don't see how you can lay the number with City here. I mean, if you want to go ahead and bet them like minus 3.5, you think that they'll just tear apart Chelsea, go right ahead. But I don't know. Feels a little let downy. Chelsea are up and at him all of a sudden under Frank, and he's had some success against Pep, most notably in his time at Everton. Anyways, pretty excited to meet anybody out there who's betting Chelsea here. BJ, what about you?
Yeah, no, if anything, it'd be both teams to score no for me. That would probably be it. I mean, the thing about it is I mean, Chelsea, I have no idea if they care or not. Like, I have no idea where their heads are at. It's really funny, though, to see the headlines of being like, Pochettino is going to do a big summer rebuild in the transfer market after Chelsea just spent $600 million on new players. But specifically for this match, I mean, Real Madrid could not play. I mean, credit to you, Anthony. You were right. Real Madrid could not play out of the back today against Manchester City. I mean, City had 12 high turnovers and just pinned them in the entire time. So what is Chelsea going to do? Especially since they don't have a number 9 right now, they can throw the ball into play in transition. So it's a pass for me. I mean, it's very hard once we get later in the season to muster up the courage to even make a bet like, both teams to score no on a team that just doesn't care. It's very, very difficult. So I'll probably end up just passing.
Maybe they will care, though.
Maybe they will. I don't know. And that's the thing, is we don't know. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, but look, they're on a 2-match unbeaten streak. Frank Lampard's Chelsea, coming off of a very gutsy 2-2 draw against Nottingham Forest. It following up a 3-1 win against Bournemouth. Like, the thing is, like, they're like still a respectable defensive outfit. Like, their ceiling in this match is like grinding out a 1-0, I think, and just those first 25, 30 minutes that Everton put together before City scored, just doing that, tripling it, doing it for 90 minutes. It's a long shot. That's why they're 8-1. like you said, you have no idea if they care. This match is on Sunday too, and I think that it kind of matters what Arsenal do. And I think so that's kind of what I'm looking at here, right? Arsenal plays Forest 12:30 on Saturday. If Arsenal lose,
It's over.
it's over. Like,
Yep.
I think what is it? If Arsenal
Already over.
yeah,
If
I
Arsenal
know.
draw, it's over too.
Yeah, exactly. So
Alright,
Arsenal
I
it's
mean, not
already
technically
over.
because of goal
Yeah.
difference, but
yeah,
De Zerbi killed it. It's over.
but
well, it was killed
you
long,
get the
long
gist
ago.
of it. It's
Oh,
not.
stop.
It's not.
It died at Anfield, if we're being honest.
No.
It died when they got outplayed week 1 by Crystal Palace, but still won. Very luckily.
It's true. They've been due for regression ever since.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever since that moment, yeah.
But I think that if Arsenal don't win that match, and they're a big favorite to do so, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. A couple of us might think Forest are sneaky. Then I think Chelsea becomes pretty appetizing as a bet. Like, and I don't know how quickly it'll adjust. Just because City might be out celebrating. Like, they could be celebrating the title on Saturday night. So keep that in mind. If Forest score a goal, I think you should just lash a bet on the Chelsea money line. Like, if they score a goal to go ahead in that Arsenal game. Anthony, what do you think?
Look, I don't think Chelsea are going to have much of a chance to win this match. I think that City will probably have their way with Chelsea's defense, but I'm surprised at how low Chelsea's odds to score were. I know Everton was at home, but like Everton was just -110 to score, created over 1.5 XG, took 6 shots from inside the City 6-yard box in the match and somehow did not score. Look, City just turned in, BJ mentioned the 12 high turnovers. They poured everything onto the field today in that pressing display. And we've seen this now back-to-back weeks where after a really big midweek match, City rotates on the weekend a little bit, doesn't have quite the same intensity, doesn't look quite as dominant. It's very hard to keep up the level of play they had today. And look, I know BJ and I had City and whatever, but that level of dominance, the whole world just watched. I don't expect them to replicate that level of intensity again. And Chelsea's better at playing out from the back than Real Madrid is. It's just something I think they're going to be more successful with. So it would be team total over, both teams to score for me. I'm waiting until we see more on Saturday because I agree with Michael that if Forest does win or get a result, it becomes more of a party atmosphere for Saturday, for Sunday. And I think
Andrea Bocelli will come out.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I think, this becomes essentially a dead rubber and that increases the goals. I think you'll actually see the market respond to that. This total will go up if Forest were to pull it off on Saturday. Not saying they will, but they could. And from a matchup perspective, I mean, this is a Chelsea team that's now scored 6 goals in the last 3 games. So it's not like they've quit. They're giving effort. I know, they played Bournemouth. They played Nottingham Forest. Those are 2 of the 4 worst defenses in the league. City's the best, but -110 is the lowest I've seen on BTTS there. That's about what I projected at. But again, like I said, given the, regression coming from both sides here, I think there's a chance of a somewhat rotated City and Chelsea have nothing to lose here. So why not go for it? Play spoiler.
Yeah, play spoiler.
For their fellow London club.
Yeah.
This just screams like 2-3-1 to City to me.
All right, let's talk about that Forest Arsenal game. It's taking place at the City ground. Forest plus 475, Arsenal -175, the draw plus 320. BJ, I'll flip it to you right away, but I think Forest is actually
No.
the right side here, but I know you're gonna disagree here, but feels a little lame ducky.
I mean, yes, in theory, but Arsenal technically, when the match kicks off, will still be alive for the Premier League title, so it still will matter to them. And listen, I mean, Arsenal outside of Manchester City has been one of the best teams in the Premier League at breaking down low blocks this season against Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Tottenham, West Ham, and Fulham. Essentially, teams that play low blocks and like to play in transition. Arsenal is averaging 2.05 expected goals per match. And it's something that we've talked about a lot, but what Arsenal's able to do in their build-up play by inverting Zinchenko in the middle of the pitch, they're able to build up in a 3-2-5 shape, compress the back line, create overloads. It's something that you saw Liverpool do to Nottingham Forest, and they created close to three expected goals and scored 3 times. And I mean, listen, where Arsenal ran into problems against Brighton is Brighton they bullied them in build-up play. Like they man-mark pressed them, and Arsenal was not able to play out through that. Nottingham Forest is not going to do that to Arsenal. They're going to sit back. They are dead last in passes per defensive action. They're dead last in opponent build-up completion percentage allowed, and second to last in high turnovers. And their defensive results have been bad overall for the season, but when you have playing a team like Arsenal, the way that they can break down low blocks, it gets really bad. So this season against City, Arsenal, Brighton, Liverpool, Newcastle, and United, Nottingham Forest has allowed 26.4 expected goals in those 11 matches. So I think this is a fantastic matchup for Arsenal. I get the spot. Like, I know Nottingham Forest has had decent results against Big Six clubs at the City Ground, but I mean, the matchup is terrible for them, trying to keep this Arsenal offense out with a very poor low block like we've seen all season. So I like Arsenal -1.
Can you stop our man Taiwo? Can anybody stop him?
Red hot Taiwo.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could stop him.
Do you think he wishes he was still at Union Berlin?
No, he's
Well, he had to go to clear the way for Geraldo Becker.
That's true. Champions League.
Anthony, where are we going to find you for this one? I feel like the tricky trees, they're calling your name here.
They are not at the current number, but I am close. I think if I can get the goal in a quarter, I will take Forest. I'm not going to force a play just to have a play, but I don't know how it's a good spot for Arsenal. I think like this is the dream crusher in a way. And when you talk about situations like the match after your title dream dies, you have to go on the road against a desperate relegation team. From a narrative standpoint, I don't like the spot for Arsenal. I think the number is a little bit low, though. I mean, I bet Chelsea +1 at home against Nottingham Forest. I bet Man United +1 at home against Nottingham Forest. Now I have to bet. I just said that totally backwards, right? Yeah. All right, let me restart that. I'm not quite sure that the number is good enough, right? I bet Nottingham Forest +1 at home against Chelsea in December. I bet United +1 at home. I bet Forest +1 at home against United a couple weeks ago. Now it's Arsenal. So we keep going up the ladder on the power rankings on how I have to bet these teams +1 against Forest +1 against team X. And so I really don't want to pay the tax here, which I think you're getting a little bit of on the number because of the spot for Arsenal. So I'm going to be a stay away here, but it would be Forest or nothing for me. If you really want action on this match, I think the trees don't match up well either. Disrupt Arsenal's build up enough. I just think it's kind of tricky. But again, that Arsenal defense continues to leak goals, and their performances away from home and at home really have been so bad defensively in the last 2 months that it's hard to trust them laying big spreads.
They've won twice in their last 7 games, and the quality of competition is, I would say, a little lacking.
Pretty fortunate win against Newcastle. The
Yeah.
only game where they were truly dominant was Chelsea.
The Chelsea game, yeah. And like you given up, they gave up 2 to Liverpool, 2 to West Ham, 3 to Southampton, 4 to City, 1 to Chelsea, clean sheet against Newcastle, and then 3 to Brighton.
Newcastle hit the post twice in that game and created over 1.5 XG. Like, it was not a comprehensive Arsenal win.
This is the point. Like,
the defense, it's been really bad. And it's interesting. I should give credit. I'm going to find out who said it and come back to it. But somebody on Arsenal Twitter that does a lot of analytics stuff basically did the chart of like what happened to Arsenal, because obviously the defense is worse. Well, they're allowing about the same number of final third entries. They're allowing about the same amount of pass completions, but it's been box entries and then just not being as efficient at defending the actual penalty area. And it's something I said earlier in the year, which is like, they're not going to keep up this rate of defending their penalty area. They're allowing enough into their box that the goals are going to start coming, and they lose Saliba. And I think his loss has really hurt. And now they lose Zinchenko for the year too. So like there's a lot of holes in this back line that make me think maybe we should just bet the over.
Yeah, forced for me. I just don't think Arsenal's it's not just a spot. Like they've been scary. They've looked a little like Tottenham Hotspur has for patches this season. Let's talk about Spurs. Minus 120 odds on favorites against Brentford. The Bees sitting around plus 330, excuse me, plus 300. The draw is plus 290. Ivan Toney, that situation has seemingly been finalized. Toney is suspended until January 2024 for breaching FA regulations about betting. Still, like I think it's got to be Brentford or nothing in the spot. Like Spurs are maddeningly inconsistent. I mean, we've been trying to tell Anthony all season that this team hasn't been good, but he just kept fighting back on it, and
I know he wouldn't let Conte
he just
go.
wouldn't listen to us. He just would not
kept
listen
trying
to
to
us.
tell us that they were just as good as they were last year, and
They'll
that
turn the corner.
They'll
turn the corner.
They'll turn the corner. Everything will be fine.
I'll tell you, I did say they're more likely to finish 8th and 4th, and they are in a tie for 7th.
They've got one win, 4 losses and a draw in their last 6 matches. I feel like there's just no pattern to how their games play out either. They seem very. I mean, and part of it obviously is turnover with managerial stuff, and I think that there's a little bit of a transition in the squad, and I just find that to be right for the picking against a team like Brentford, which everybody they have their game script every game and they play to it. It's what makes them so dangerous in these spots against bigger clubs. So believe it or not, I'm on the Bees. BJ, what about you?
Yeah, I'm passing. This is about the same number that we saw Tottenham against Crystal Palace 2 weeks ago. And, Tottenham created 1 expected goal, won the match 1-0. So it basically has to be your perception of what you think Brentford is without Ivan Toney, if they are similar to Crystal Palace. And without Ivan Toney, I don't think Brentford is a significantly better team than Crystal Palace at this point in the season. So I have this number projected right on around where it is. Like you said, Michael, the form for Tottenham is just so weird back and forth. So there's just a lot going on here that's, makes me very uncomfortable to bet either side. So I think this is an easy pass.
All right, Tony, what do you got?
I like the under. Tottenham played a really poor game against Villa. They continuously tried to get Son in behind, and he was offside every single time. They played a midfield that was pretty lackluster in terms of pressing ability, in terms of passing ability. And they really were outplayed for like 60 minutes. They brought on Basuma. Basuma's a much better presser. They instantly got better with him out there. But like the passing is just bad. And Brentford's not going to play that same high line that's going to let them get people in behind. So I really think Tottenham struggles to break down Brentford here. I think it's going to be a very ugly game. The Bees counterattack is certainly blunted without Toney. I know that, I like Wissa and Mbeumo's been fine, but he's a goal every other game striker. And just taking him out is a significant loss. Brentford's biggest advantages have been set pieces. That's where Tottenham's good. So I think they kind of cancel each other out in that way. And I like the under. If you go back, remember, they played on Boxing Day. Brentford went up 2-0. It was a really ugly match where Spurs could not build out from the back at all. And Brentford actually did some more pressing in that. And then Spurs kind of went more direct and kind of solved the problem. I think Brentford will not be nearly as aggressive here away from home. I know there's the beach risk because like Brentford's kind of done now, but I like the under at 2 3/4. It's close to 3. I'm going to wait a little bit to see if we get maybe a little market movement and I can get the 3, like minus 135. But I'm okay with 2.75 minus 105. I think that's awfully high. I would have this closer to 2.5.
All right. Bournemouth next. They're plus 475 at home, hosting United. Minus 200 on the road. The draw is plus 375. Bournemouth on the beach. United, plenty to play for in this race for the top four. That's got pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle and United on 66 points. Newcastle plays on Thursday. Liverpool, 65 points. And if you want to throw Brentford in there, go right ahead. They're at 58 and would need a miracle. But that's usually Brighton. I think all of us are kind of in agreement here that there is you just kind of referenced the beach tax, Anthony, and you meant it the other way, like, or you're afraid of a team on the beach. And I think that we're going to play into a team like the must-win tax here on United, which looks a little short at minus 200 against Bournemouth. So I think I'll be on the Cherries. They've been dangerous. I don't think a team like this is a threat to be on the beach because, like, this has been a hugely successful season for them back in the Premier League, defying the odds, and it's Manchester United. So you're never going to be on the beach when you're hosting United. I like the money line. Looks like all three of us are in agreement on what side, but you two, of course, will be playing a little safer, Anthony.
Well, last home match of the year too.
Yeah.
And it's against Man United. So like you do expect a good effort, good showing. They're going to give it a go. United did get Rashford back in training, so that's notable. But this comes down to the number for me. I only have them favored by about 3/4 of a goal. So I'm going to take the full goal. I also don't hate playing the plus a half because it is the kind of game where if Bournemouth falls behind and United's able to get in their transition ways, they can kind of get at Bournemouth in transition, which is where United is, of course, at their best as always. But from a matchup perspective, Cherry's attack's just been really good. And there's a lot of pressure on United to win this match. And teams tend to struggle under that kind of pressure on the road. So I'm going to take the Cherries at home, mostly just a numbers play for me.
Yeah,
BJ, jump on in.
Yeah. So Anthony's dead on. This is just must-win tax, inflated United. Bournemouth, since we got back from the World Cup, their offense has obviously been much better since the January transfer window, since they retooled their attack, spent some money. Last 17 matches, they've created 23.2 expected goals, and they've only scored 19 of those. So they've actually underperformed, and that expected goals total is actually top 10 in the Premier League over that time frame. And I think, this is something I've always said, but I think they've kind of taken the blueprint that's made Brentford so successful, is just putting a big time emphasis on those transitional opportunities, creating big scoring chances, not getting a lot of shots, but also being incredibly efficient on set pieces. Bournemouth, they're top 3 in XG per set piece this season, which is very impressive. Now, the defense overall has been bad all season long, but they've been running pretty bad lately. They've conceded 10 goals in their last 6 matches off of 6.7 expected. And they're probably going to sit back. They're probably not going to press United and build up play, which would be a mistake, I think, because that's how teams have given United a lot of trouble. But Anthony mentioned if Rashford is out, Anthony's been hitting the nail on the head for weeks now, that the United attack is just so reliant on him. And without him, it's troublesome of how United's going to break down a team that's going to sit 10 guys behind the ball and really defend their penalty area very, very well. So, yeah, I agree with Anthony. I have United at minus 136. So I like Bournemouth +1 at plus 110.
Yeah, Anthony's been increasing his production. His shots are up, his XG is up. It's not just long prayers. He's also assisting more. So I've been impressed by Anthony kind of settling in, improving, and really saving United at times, because Rashford has missed more matches the second half, and they've really made up for it. But it's Bournemouth here. I really can't get anywhere near the number.
And one more thing to add, United 19th and final third penalty box conversion rate allowed. So that usually is significant for teams, not only for teams like United who control a lot of possession. A lot of those chances are coming in transition. So kind of concerning when you're facing a team that basically creates only in transition.
Fulham and Palace in a beach bowl. I'll read off these odds.
I need this one.
Yeah, we need Palace.
I need Palace. This is the
We
one.
have what, over 45.5 on Palace?
I got 46 and a half. I need this one really badly. If I don't get it, it's done, which would be mean because, Roy, and by the way, I don't know if you saw, Michael, they're talking about extending Roy one more year.
Yeah, why not? We haven't really seen what he's got yet, I would say, about Roy.
Exactly.
Like, you don't want to be unsure and regret not giving him a fair shake of it, let's say. So bring back Roy.
This is this. You know what this is like? I mean, this is clearly like a situation where you've been in a relationship with somebody, you break up, you go your separate ways for about 2 or 3 years, and then you know what? You reconnect, and everything's good for like a couple months, and you say, you know what? Let's get back together just for a little while longer. It was so good, and then that's when things kind of fall apart. But you know what?
God love him.
It's Palace's mistake to make.
Fulham's plus 145, Palace plus 190, and the draw plus 240. I know you two will be sweating Palace and rooting for him, but none of us have anything betting wise for this one, so we can move to Liverpool and Villa. The Reds minus 223 hosting Unai Emery's Villa plus 525. The draw is plus 400. Liverpool's come alive down the stretch here. They also announced that this will be, I believe, the last home match for James Milner, Roberto Firmino, Naby Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think that's it. And they've kind of been just better defensively lately. I mean, you look at their XG against numbers since beginning of April, they've just started to trend up in the right direction. They've obviously won a bushel of games in a row, up to 7 on the spin. And we know what this Villa team's all about. Anthony, you're the only one with a play here, but you would have thought like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I probably would have had this circled as a Villa spot, but it does seem like Liverpool is rolling, and I'll focus my attention on a couple other underdogs.
Yeah, I've had to bump Liverpool's defense because this tactical change with Alexander-Arnold is really working. Credit to Jurgen Klopp. He's a pretty smart guy. He's an excellent manager. He knows how to get the best out of his players at all times, most times. And the decision to move Trent into midfield has improved their ball retention rate. So when they lose possession, their ability to win it back before getting transition and getting destroyed, it's improved because when you have less from Fabinho and Thiago and you need to cover for them, well, putting a younger guy who isn't a great defender but can run a little and do some defensive work in the middle. And of course, everybody knows how good Trent is going forward. It's put him in a more advantageous space to be a productive attacker. Now they play Villa. Now, remember the first meeting between these two teams? Villa was +1 at home. Now they're +1 at Anfield, which is kind of a point of how much the market has risen on this Villa team. They played a super high line. They were very committed to playing out from the back, and it was a disaster. I mean, they conceded a ton of chances to Liverpool. They created some of their own. There were chances at both ends, for sure. But they were really struggling to play out from pressure, and Nunez was in behind seemingly every 3 minutes. And so I think it's going to be a big problem because they tried the same thing against Tottenham last week at Spurs, or at home against Spurs. And I just talked about this earlier, but Tottenham was so close on 3 separate occasions. And Tottenham does not have the midfield quality and the passing ability that Liverpool has. So I took Liverpool first half money line. I think they come out and Buzz saw them at home. And I took some team total over 2.5 plus 150. Villa kind of needs to go for it. I mean, there's not really any reason to not. And so I think as they try to continue to play out from the back and get themselves back into this game, it will only open up opportunities for Liverpool to get out and transition to run and to dice this team. And it's one of the worst, I think, stylistic matchups for Liverpool or for Villa on the road here. So I'm going to take the Reds. It'll be a 1-0 game on a late winner now, but I think Liverpool scores early. Villa, I think will get on the board here, but I think it's like a 3-1 Liverpool home win. And they move closer to 71, which is the magic number that I think might be enough to get Champions League in next season. It's going to be really tight. Liverpool's like plus 120 at most shops to get top 4, which is a little low. Like it should be like
that's way too low.
It should be like 160, 170, but
yeah,
they're sitting at like 30, 35% right now, maybe closer to 40, with a chance to get into that top 4. I think they're going to win their last 2 games, and then will United
You think
or
they're going to beat
Newcastle drop.
Southampton?
I like their chances against Southampton. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Although I probably bet Southampton in that game.
All right. The headliner now. Wolverhampton, a home underdog. Plus 175. We got a dueling beach plus a beach discount and a must-win tax. Everton plus 160 at the Molineux. The draw is plus 230. I don't know if I've ever seen Everton beat Wolves in my life. I just feel like they've just never beat them. And boy, is this one horrifying because of the number. Like, this is a type of game where, as an Everton fan, you'd think, oh wow, like we're favorites on the road. I should feel pretty good about this. But as somebody who has been doing this, which is covering soccer betting markets for way too long now, I know why the number looks like it does, and I know that it is a you're paying a tax. But Anthony, you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid to get there on Everton.
Yeah, I really can't play Everton. I want to. I like the spot. I like the matchup, but the number sucks. I mean, pick them on the road at Wolves. You're paying a huge tax here.
I think they are Real Madrid. Like,
exactly.
This number
Real
is insane.
Madrid.
Real Madrid would be plus 170 in the spot.
Yeah. Well, they're on the beach now, but I think this is just the classic example of like if Wolves go up early, could be a good opportunity to hop in live on Everton, on like a live money line type situation, because you do see that as games go on. Variance will get even bigger because teams will have to go for it. But this is a classic example of like, oh, we want to all bet Everton, but like so does the whole world. The market knows it, so there's no real edge.
By the way, Real Madrid technically on the beach, but not really, because Atletico's 2 points behind them, and they would not want them to finish ahead of them, Anthony.
Spite Beach.
I think Wolves do a lot of defensive possession. Everton's done a good job of breaking that up. And so that would be an interesting kind of contrast of styles, but Everton away from home.
Well, that's what Wolves wants you to do. Like, they want you to press and get forward so they can play in behind and they can do their combination passing and get it out wide. So like stylistically, it's actually for a team like Everton, who is not that great at counter pressing or pressing high like a team in the top 6 would be, it's actually kind of a terrible matchup. So, I mean, if this thing gets steamed where I'm getting Wolves like pick them at like plus 120, I might have to stare at that for a little bit. But I mean, they look like they did not care against United. So we'll see.
And the other thing to keep in mind here is, wouldn't you know, Dominic Calvert-Lewin picked up a little bit of a knock against Man City, so we'll see.
What? Again?
His Iron Man streak is coming to an end, it looks like.
Yeah.
But
we'll bet him for gold. We'll bet him for Golden Boot next year. Maybe he'll play for more than 10 matches.
Yeah, right. In the championship, he's going to be odds on to win it. And Vitaly Mikolenko, he's a doubt, which means that we could see another center back play left back, and but at least Yerry Mina's up and at it. Anyways, I think the number is just way crazy, but I'm not betting Wolves here either. Another relegation threatened team, Leeds. They're traveling to West Ham to take on the Hammers, who are plus 137, and on the beach, Leeds plus 190. The draw is plus 250. I think the number on Leeds is a little short too. Like, this West Ham team is they're good. Like, they're just good. We say it every week. They've lost 4 of 5, but they are good. Like, it's it just is what it is with them. And I don't trust Sam Allardyce to be able to break this team down. So pretty easy pass. Like between Fulham and Crystal Palace and this one felt like the easiest ones on the board. So I'll be out of here. But BJ, you're actually willing to lay it.
Yeah, I mean, technically, obviously, goal differential is like substantial, so it's not going to happen. Like West Ham, 6 points from the drop zone with 2 to play. So yeah, they are safe. But I mean, it's just must-win tax with a very, very short number on a good West Ham team against the Leeds. I mean, let's give our guy Jesse Marsch some credit. I've been the leader in the charge to say that he was unfairly fired and that he should never have deserved to lose his job. Since they fired him, Leeds has allowed 2.01 xG per match. Under March, they only allowed 1.63. So credit to Jesse Marsch and his great defensive tactics at Leeds at being better than the combination of caretaker managers Javi Gracia and Sam Allardyce. And listen, the spot here is terrible for West Ham, but the matchup is perfect for them because the pressure is going to be on Leeds. They're going to have to be aggressive. They're going to have to try to push forward and attack because they have 2 matches left in the season. And then 1 point, honestly, at this point is not good enough. They need all 3 points. So West Ham can sit back in their low block and they can just play in transition where they've been most effective. So, and West Ham this season, we know they've underachieved, but against the bottom half of the table, they have a plus 9.5 expected goal differential. They've been very good against bad competition. So Hammer's pick minus 140. I'll probably wait till match time. If you follow me in the Action Network app, it'll probably be sometime on Sunday. I want to make sure that, Soychek, Rice, Paqueta, all of the really good West Ham players are actually playing in this match. And it's obviously dependent on what happens with their Europa Conference League tie with Alkmaar on Thursday, if they get through that or not. So it's kind of wait and see if we get a good Hammers lineup. If we don't, I'll just pass and move on. But yeah, the numbers way too much must-win tax for Leeds, making a good number here on West Ham.
Yeah, that's the thing for me. It's the matchup potential because they play Alkmaar Thursday. Win, especially, I think they rest everybody. Like, there's no reason to go for it. And we saw them put out a very bad, very, very bad team on Sunday against Brentford and looked awful. Got played off the park. And so that potential just makes it very hard to price West Ham. I just can't do it. So I'll pass.
Southampton officially been relegated. They now travel.
See you. 20 goals they lost to goalkeeping this year. 20 goals. I've never seen that.
And then,
what's crazy is we were talking so much about Danny Ward at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
That Bazunu
they just never benched him. And that's the thing is Leicester benched Danny Ward. They went for Iverson. They just said enough is enough. But apparently Southampton just, still believed in the young talent they spent $15 million on. So we'll see what he does in the championship. But yeah, I mean, what was the last time Southampton's been in the Premier League for 10 years now or close to that? So we'll be seeing some new blood here coming up because there's the potential that, or I guess there's potential that all 3 of the promoted teams last year will survive. So we'll see.
Probably will.
Yeah,
probably will.
Coventry and Luton in the, oh my gosh.
Luton
Coventry
is
and dirty old Luton
in that match.
A friend of mine was at the Riverside for Coventry's win. He's a Coventry supporter, so hats off
sad
to
for
him.
Middlesbrough, honestly, very sad. They were going to be a really fun front.
16.6 goals is the number of goals that Gavin Bazunu cost Southampton in net this year. That is
so we kept saying
unfathomable.
And this is funny because if you go back to later podcasts, I think I said maybe 7 times that if he does this, he'll be historically the worst goalkeeper in Premier League history. And you'd think he'd regress towards the mean. No, he actually was the worst goalkeeper in Premier League history. So it happened. So what are you going to
do? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to play Brighton. They're going to be a 12-1 underdog. Brighton's minus 500, and the draw is 6-1.
Did you ever think we'd see the day?
Brighton minus 500?
Minus
with not Graham Potter in charge, and he's Basuma playing for Tottenham. Trossard is gone.
Mopai is gone.
Mopai is, they're building him a statue.
Ben White is gone. Gosh. And Mwepu's gone.
How can you not
I know.
How can you not bet Southampton at this number?
No thanks. Pass.
12
This
to
is
1.
like, yeah, I mean, this is an easy pass.
12 to 1.
I mean, what is
Not
Southampton?
not
really
even like
gonna-
the last home match where you can be like, oh,
I mean, here's what
Yeah, but
if
it's
you
like
want to
the
make a
kind
case
of
for
old-
Southampton. Here's the case: is
Let's
what
hear the
happened
case.
to Brighton against Nottingham Forest and against what was the other team that they
Everton.
tripped up against? And Everton was a team of this style, like Southampton, that will play deeper and then just try to win a couple high turnovers and get going in transition. Like that's the recipe to beat Brighton, and Everton and Nottingham Forest have shown that. But you actually have to be good defensively in your low block to actually keep Brighton out. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do anything, like maybe a Southampton reverse run line would be nice if you can find that. I don't know if the book's even going to offer that, but yeah, just chase something big on Southampton would be my recommendation.
I mean, McCarthy's in goal now, I think, but
Yeah.
he's been awful. He's been awful too.
Just in time.
He's been awful as well. So
They could use your man Fraser Foster.
he should not be in goal for anybody either. He was so. I mean, he cost me the under in the Villa Spurs match. He took him like 8 minutes to realize the free kick was going to his left, and then he couldn't get there.
All right, let's just move on. Monday Night Football. It'll be an interesting spot here for Leicester because if there's ever a time to not want to be playing Monday Night Football, it'd probably be this one. When you're in the thick of the relegation fight, obviously, they're 19th. They are on 30 points, 1 point behind Leeds, who are in 18th, 2 points behind Everton, and 4 points adrift of Nottingham Forest. All these teams have 2 matches to go. So Leicester's going to watch Forest play Arsenal. They'll watch Everton and Wolves. They'll see Leeds and West Ham. They could be toast if they lose this match to Newcastle. But I guess you can flip in and say, oh, well, that's good because at least they'll know if they need a win or whatever, or if other teams have lost and they've got a chance. But all that aside, Newcastle's battling for top 4. They're minus 275. Leicester plus 650. The draw is plus 450. And I don't understand. I can't see a way that Leicester doesn't give up a ton here. The only thing that they have going for them is that Newcastle is playing a midweek game and against Brighton. So, and that's at home. So it's not like they're traveling from the South Coast up to Newcastle. This is back-to-back home games. So you'd like to make a case for a team battling for relegation at this kind of number, or battling off relegation at this kind of number, but I just can't do it. BJ, what about you?
Yeah, this is an easy pass for me. I was looking at the total, but it's inflated, so there's nothing I can really do here. It's a terrible matchup for Leicester. Trying a team that wants to play out of the back, a team that needs to build up, that really isn't a transitional type team, going up against a Newcastle press that can just bully you and set those pressing traps and really cause a lot of havoc. So, I project Newcastle right around where they are for this match. I think this is just a very, very easy pass for not only, with an inflated total. And after Leicester's performance against Liverpool on Monday, you can kind of just see it on their faces that they kind of know what's coming because their schedule to finish is very, very difficult. So easy pass for me.
What's funny here is if let's just say the results go against Leicester over the.
If Everton wins, they're done. It's pretty simple.
They'll need a win, right? Like they need a win, and this team already plays suicide ball, and they have to play even more chaotic. So it's
sad, like seeing one of the last team not in the Big Six to win the Premier League title finally leaving the Premier League. It's sad. There's going to be a huge. The amount of offloads from Leicester this summer are going to be crazy. With them going down the championship, be interesting to see where Tielemans and Madison end up.
Yeah, it's It is sad. You're right.
Losing Iheanacho is important, I think. They lost him. He's didn't play against Liverpool.
I think losing Schmeichel might end up being what cost them it. If you think, I know they benched
and not firing Rodgers early enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they're certainly more talented than 18th.
Yeah.
I mean, we all had them bottom half, but like we were saying, I don't think any of us thought like relegation. Maybe they'd start in that way, but then they would fire Rodgers sooner. They have improved their attacking output, but I don't really buy it. I'm kind of skeptical of it because now, they had those matches against Wolves and Everton where like they had all of the good attackers on the pitch at the same time. And like Jamie Vardy had like his swan song, and then they went down 3-0 in the first half to Fulham. And it's like, okay, we kind of just threw shit at the wall, but I'm not really buying this attack being any good. And that's against the Newcastle defense that's still very good themselves at Newcastle. I'd be tempted to look at both teams to score no here.
I'd be tempted to look at a Jamie Vardy
plus
golden boot
though.
in the championship, Michael.
No, he's done.
Speaking of the championship, before we move on to Bundesliga, Ashley Barnes has left Burnley for Norwich City. So thank you for everything, Ashley. It's going to be weird to not see you play for Burnley. Okay, Bundesliga. Anthony, great call on Gladbach last week. Almost got that one. What do you have for us here?
We were down 4-0, and it was actually quite a dramatic finish. I don't know if any of they went down 4-0 inside a half hour, 35 minutes. So I turned it off. Then I got the goal alert. It was 4-1. I said, you know what? Let me put this on. We score again to make it 4-2. We hit the post to make it 4-3. I'm like, all right, push, whatever. Don't really deserve to win. 9-1, never had a chance in hell. 4-2, they commit a foul as time expires, like 94th minute. I'm like, oh, they're going to let him take the free kick. Royce hits the free kick right at the goalie. Olszewski drops it. Reina tap in, 5-2, +2 loses. One of my bigger bets of the month. So that was not fun. The Foles are still dead to me, and they may get relegated next year, and I wouldn't even care.
What?
Yeah. There's going to be a big problem with this team, I think, come next season. We'll discuss that in August, but they're losing a lot of talent this summer. But I am excited for this weekend. I mean, we're essentially deciding the title. Bayern could slip up against Cologne in the last weekend. I'm skeptical of that mattering. Cologne's kind of beached at this point. But Bayern against RB Leipzig. Dortmund goes to Augsburg. The Bayern wins this. I think it's it. If they drop points, then Dortmund needs 2 wins in the final 2 weeks to do it and pull it off, the seemingly impossible. Now, Leipzig is not going to just roll over and hand them the title. I was not impressed by Leipzig's performance against Werder Bremen last weekend. They're definitely feeling the pressure themselves of trying to compete for this top 4 spot, but they need the points. They can clinch top 4 with a victory, or really with one victory in their last 2 matches, they would clinch top 4. So they play Schalke at home the last week. They also have the cup final coming up, but this is a big match for Leipzig. I think they're a little bit undervalued, but I like the under more. Leipzig did a really, really good, impressive job in the last meeting between these 2 teams of keeping Bayern out of transition. If you remember, you go back to the first match they played earlier in the season, different manager, different approach. They were much more chaotic, and it played right into Bayern's hands, and they got pantsed in those moments, and it was not competitive whatsoever. They lost 5-3, and the score kind of flattered them in a way. Now, the second meeting, once Rosa came in, and Rosa's had a lot of success against Bayern in the past, he held them to about 1 expected goal in a 1-1 draw. It was one of the better performances coming off the World Cup, yes, but I think you have to look at Leipzig +1 and the under here in that one. I think you're paying the tax on Bayern for sure.
BJ?
Yeah, I like Leipzig +1 in this matchup. I think it's actually a good one for what Anthony outlined is that, in the meeting right after we came out of the World Cup, they kept Bayern out of transition. They let them have the ball over 60% of the time. And Bayern didn't really create much against them. Like, it was a very, very good performance. They Bayern only had one shot with an XG rating over 0.1. And listen, I mean, Marco Rosa has done an incredible job at RB Leipzig this season. Since he took over, they have a plus 1.11 non-penalty expected goal differential per 90 minutes. They're only allowing 0.81 non-penalty expected goals per 90 under him. So this is a very, very good defense that we've seen many times, especially, I know they conceded 7 to Manchester City or whatever it was, but like they've been good when they've had to face better attacks. And for Bayern, I mean, it's a different approach from Tuchel. Like it's much more possession oriented, a lot more build up play, not so much in transition. And what Tuchel is having problems with is he doesn't have a true number 9 that he can play up top. And something Anthony's obviously mentioned many times on this podcast, but Choupo-Moting's hurt. So, in the loss to Mainz, he tried to play Mueller and Mane up top as a front two. I mean, they created a decent number of chances, but it's something that then the next match he plays Mane up top. Then after that, the last 2 matches he's played Gnabry up top. Like it's just there's so much tactically going differently for Bayern here, and Tuchel also is trying to find the right build-up structure for Bayern to get back to what Bayern was. And the expected goals numbers are still fine, but facing a team like Leipzig that can defend the way that they do and how good they are in transition, it's a great matchup here for Leipzig. So, I mean, I only have Bayern projected at minus 131. So Leipzig +1 at even money for a team that really has only been, 0.5 expected goals worse than Bayern this season. It's a pretty decent number here on Leipzig.
Okay. La Liga, not as exciting as Bundesliga. But that's where we're going next. Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, I like Girona Pick'em at home against Villarreal. Villarreal had a rousing home win against Bilbao last week in a very even back and forth contest that was wide open. Since Setien has come in, they have not been a very good defensive team, and I think Unai has done it again. Because really, since he's come in, they are an average team in Spain defensively. And look, they're actually below average, 12th now in La Liga since Setien came in for Emery. And I really don't like the matchup against a Girona attack led by Tati Castellanos that has in the upper half. And both teams here are still going for a chance at Europe. Villarreal has an outside shot at catching Sociedad. They're likely headed to the Europa League. And then Girona is looking like a Conference League berth if they can hold off Bilbao, Osasuna, Sevilla. There's a chasing pack behind them. So this is a desperation home spot for them. And at home as a dog, I don't really see that much of a difference between these two teams. In the Setien minutes only, these two teams are like 4 goals apart over the course of about 15 matches. So there's not a huge gap here. I will take the dog at home, Girona bet.
What about you, BJ?
Yeah, I like a little relegation 6-pointer on Friday afternoon. Cadiz and Real Valladolid. If it weren't for Elche and Almeria, these would be the 2 worst defenses in Spain. Both of them are allowing over 1.6 expected goals per 90 minutes. And neither is showing many signs of getting better. I mean, Valladolid has been especially bad. They've conceded 20.7 expected goals in their last 9 matches. And these two teams set up very, very similarly in how they actually have success offensively. Like Valladolid has played 5 different formations in the last 6 matches, and all of them are basically designed to just attack in wide areas. For this season, they have the 3rd lowest percentage of their attacks going through the middle of the pitch. So Valladolid naturally is 9th in completing crosses in the penalty area, while Cadiz has allowed the 2nd most into their penalty area. Cadiz is just your typical bottom half of the table La Liga team where it's just 4-4-2 defensive block, look to play in transition, get the ball out wide, swinging crosses, which they are top 7 in swinging crosses in penalty area, while Valladolid is 13th in defending them. And Cadiz, I mean, they've been one of the worst offenses in La Liga all season long, but they've run cold lately. Due for a little positive regression, 3 goals in their last 6 matches off of 6 expected. So with 2 teams attacking in wide areas, primarily playing in transition, can't really defend either of those things either. I think it's going to create a very back and forth encounter. So I like over 2 goals or 2.5 goals at plus 120.
Serie A, BJ, and
I mean, this
Set it and forget it. Just say
BJ, how are you betting this?
how?
Yeah,
Do you
I don't
see the
get
two
it.
teams that are playing this match, Anthony?
Yeah, but you're laying a goal with Roma, who is
Yeah.
only on focus
Against
on
the
Europa
worst
League.
team in Italy? Yeah. Yeah, I'm laying the goal. Roma -1 against Salernitana. So I get the biggest underperformer against the biggest overperformer. Like, come on, this is perfect. And like Roma,
No.
I know Jose says he doesn't care, like that they weren't going to get top 4, but like they're still battling for a Europa League spot. Like it is a very
They're battling for the Europa League.
I know, but
on
they also
Thursday.
need to qualify for the Europa League next season, Anthony. Okay? Gosh, against the bottom half of the table this season, Roma plus 1.1 expected goal differential per 90 minutes, only allowing 0.77 expected goals per 90 minutes. And that's because we've said it so many times. They are the best team in Europe at defending their penalty area. And they're also very, very good at defending in transition, having good defensive structure. It's a staple under Jose Mourinho. And Salernitana, I know they own me. I know Ochoa owns me, but they have the worst expected goal differential in Serie A, and it's a defense that doesn't provide much resistance coming into the final third, which is good for Roma, who's been bottom half of Serie A in terms of their build-up play and playing through pressure, 12th in offensive passes per defensive action. Salernitana also one of the worst set-piece defenses in Serie A, which is a big no-no against a team like Roma, managed by the great Jose Mourinho. So with Roma still battling for a Europa League spot, Anthony, they will care about this match. And this line is far too short. So give me Jose Mourinho and Roma -1 at -130.
Anthony, I don't know how you can follow that one up.
I can't, honestly. I'm truly stunned. Lazio and Udinese are within about 8 goals of each other this season in terms of XG difference. I know Lazio's done this forever, and I need to ask people that are smarter than me to figure out what the hell Lazio is doing. It's been able to do this for so long because it truly is incredible. They have a +5 XG difference, +26 actual. They've just been remarkable. They go on the road, though, to Udinese, pressure spot on the road. Udinese has been about as average as you're going to get in Serie A, but they are good at playing through pressure, and I've been impressed by their pace on the outside, especially. So I'm going to go with them at home. I project this pretty close to a coin flip. And so the fact that I get to +0.5, I'm going to take it.
Okay, BJ, you're the only one with anything in Ligue 1.
Yeah, real quick here. Clermont Foot +0.5 against Brest. Brest needs this win to secure their spot in Ligue 1 next season while Clermont Foot is on the beach. And listen, I crapped on this Clermont Foot team at the beginning of the season. Credit where credit's due. Since we came out of the World Cup, +0.6 non-penalty expected goal differential. Brest over that same time frame -11. Clermont Foot also number 1 in France in final third to box entry conversion rate allowed, which usually signifies a team that is at least decent in defending in transition, where that's basically where Brest needs to get all of their attacking outputs. So I have this match projected pretty close to a pick'em, so you're just getting a lot of must-win tax on Brest. So I like Clermont Foot +0.5 at -135.
Okay, on to our underdog parlay. We're so close last week.
We got one of the 4 Champions League sandwich spots.
Yeah.
Spezia.
Yep, we were close. Unfortunately, Everton.
Gladbach, Everton, and Spurs. They were outscored by a combined
like 7 goals, I think.
7 goals, yeah.
Which means we're due.
Yeah, we are
For it
due.
to go the other way.
And we'll go with you first, BJ.
Yeah, how about a nice little hangover, championship hangover bet against Barcelona, who has won La Liga. Sociedad +330. Really, even if Barcelona cared about this match, obviously the number's very short because Barcelona has won La Liga. But I'm expecting them probably to rest quite a few guys. And Sociedad as a team that is very good at disrupting build-up play. They're near the top of La Liga in passes per defensive action, opponent build-up completion percentage allowed, and high turnovers, which is something you have to do if you want to beat Barcelona. So we may see a rotated squad from Barcelona. Sociedad needs this match because they are 5 points clear of top 4 with 4 to play. So a point here or even 3 points would be absolutely vital to them to get into the Champions League. So Sociedad plus 330 for a nice championship hangover from Barcelona.
I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest. They're plus 450, hosting BJ's Arsenal. This is a lot to do with the spot. Arsenal just had their hearts crushed in a 3-0 loss to Brighton last weekend. Title race basically decided. But it's also about the form of Arsenal. 3 draws, 2 losses, and 2 wins in their last 7 matches. And in those 7 matches, they played Liverpool, West Ham, Southampton, City, Chelsea, Newcastle United, and Brighton. Not exactly the hardest run of matches there. Gave up 3 to Southampton, gave up 2 to West Ham, 2 to Liverpool, 4 to City, and 3 to Brighton. This defense has been trending down since the World Cup, and it's bottomed out lately. So I think Forest can give them some trouble here. And look, it's a must-win spot here for the Tricky Trees, battling relegation. They'll be up for it. They've pulled some stunning results already this season, so give me Steve Cooper and Forest at plus 450. It's my favorite underdog. Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to take Udinese 3-1 at home against Lazio. Lazio coming off a draw with Lecce and a 2-0 defeat at Milan, where they were the clearly worst team in both games. They've outrun this regression forever, seemingly. They have only won one of their last 5, though, and I think they're going to be the biggest fade candidate next season. They're one of the oldest teams in Italy. Could be potentially running out of gas here as well. I like Udinese at home in a must-win Lazio spot. You're paying the tax, and they lose this, then it gets interesting for top 4. If BJ's Roma or Milan could get a win this weekend, they still have 3 matches to go in Italy. They're going to have the extra week as well. So
pretty short parlay for us here. 94-1. If those 3 teams come through, feels good. I will say this. I feel like we're going to hit either this week or in the finale next weekend. We'll see which one.
You know what, Michael, though? Even if we do 100 more episodes, we're still probably in the black.
Yeah.
So that's the good news,
that's
right?
the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of this is like people are like, man, they just can't hit one of these parlays. Well, we hit the 200-1. So talking about these teams on the
I do $5 every week, full disclosure. So, I'm not putting, coffee a week on it. And if you win, you have, 94 coffees. I don't even drink coffee. So really, it's just all banked profit.
He's an apple juice guy. All right, on to our best bets for the Premier League this weekend. BJ, we can go with you.
Arsenal -1, -120 on the road against Nottingham Forest. Really, Arsenal's title hopes are probably over, but coming into this match, they will still at least be alive for the Premier League title, and the matchup is really good for them. They've been one of the best teams in the Premier League at breaking down low blocks this season, 2.06 expected goals per 90 minutes against teams that typically play low blocks. And for a team like Nottingham Forest that is not going to try to come out and disrupt Arsenal's build-up play, it makes it very, very difficult when Arsenal's compressing 5 guys on Nottingham Forest's back line, and they're going to have to defend all of Arsenal's attackers in and around the penalty area. So I think this is a decent spot here for Arsenal. They have gone through some injuries, but Nottingham Forest has been really bad against some of the better offenses in the Premier League, allowing 26 expected goals in 11 matches against the top 6 offenses. So I like Arsenal -1 at -120.
I'm going to go with Brentford. They're 3-1. They're taking on Tottenham Hotspur. And if you look at these 2 teams, I think that one, you just have not been able to figure out all season. They haven't been able to figure themselves out all season. That is Tottenham. Results all over the place. The defense has struggled mightily since the beginning of April. And this Brentford team, they punch up better than anyone. We say it all the time, every week. Even without Ivan Toney, I think that this Beast team, taking out a vulnerable Spurs team on the road, is still fine. So I'll take my Bees, baby, plus 300. Anthony, you can bring us home, please.
Yeah, I'm going to go Liverpool first half money line, Liverpool team total over 2.5 plus 150. We'll make each a half unit for the tracking purposes. I like this matchup for Liverpool. I think they're going to get a ton of chances in behind Villa's defense. They're going to create a bunch of high turnovers at Anfield. They're going to apply a ton of pressure. And I am willing to think that this Villa team and this magical run that they've been on, which included a ton of winning, has them playing way over their skis. We're at the all-time market high rating on Villa right now. And there's only one place to go from there.
There is only one place to go from here, and that is to our Premier League season finale, which will take place a week from now. And then we'll do a Champions League final preview, Istanbul. We told you guys, City, just lay it. Just lay it.
Michael, we finally beat Real Madrid.
Yeah. There's a lot of long shots that died along the way, but it was very unexciting.
We also have, well, that's not true. We have a Champions League preview, but we're also going to do Europa League final is May 31st,
which is
Conference League is June 7th. We've got the FA Cup, the DFB Pokal. So, we've got like 3 episodes left to go this season.
And then stay tuned. Women's World Cup starts July 20th, and we will be covering that. So,
and as someone who watches a lot of the Australian Football League, the AFL, been some wild stuff going on down there with the decision about the Tasmanian stadium to try to get the expansion team there, and the political backlash about building a stadium. I'm kind of used to watching sports at those on Australian time, so I'm in good form.
Yeah, Aussie Open's always great every single year.
Yeah, we'll be in great form for the Women's World Cup. But for now, we'll just keep chugging along on what has seemingly been an endless soccer season. I guess that's what happens when you throw a World Cup in the middle of it. For BJ Cunningham, Anthony DeBundo, I'm Michael Leboff. Thanks again to our sponsors, Bet365. This has been Wondergoal. We'll see you again next week.